Vanessa, where are you in the world?
I am on Long Island in New York.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
I see this mountainscape behind you or something, and I'm loving it.
This is me channeling nature. This is wallpaper in my room.
I love it. I love it. And are those cherry blossoms I'm seeing?
They are cherry blossoms. They're a little faded. The cherry blossoms, and as you said, the beautiful mountainscape. This has been saving me throughout COVID.
Yes. No, agreed. Hence my background. I just decided to just hop off of planet Earth and just go out here where it's super peaceful, get my meditation on in space here.
Love it. I love it.
Oh, good. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. I see we've got some comments. We've got some, let's see. Oh, Sandra from Texas. Hello, Sandra. Welcome, welcome. Yes. Whoever else is joining us, please let us know where you're at. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for dialing in and sharing your time with us. Rome. Oh, hi, Chris. Yay. I talk to people like they're talking with me. I know they're not in the room, but I feel like, aren't we all just sitting around a giant coffee table, just hanging out? I love conversations like that. Yay.
Would love it if we were.
Hello, hello. Bangalore, Liverpool, India, Texas. Ooh, Colorado. Oh, hi, Patrick. Yay. Dr. Pat's in the house. And Vanitha, yay. Hi, good morning or good evening. Hello, everybody. Oh, yay. Bangalore's always got such great reputation. Hello, friends. I'm doing so good. I am doing fantastic. I'm going to do better when I grab my coffee, but I am doing wonderful. I tell my son, I've got him hooked on it. I'm training my 4-year-old. As we know, I'm intentionally working on his conditioning as best I can to try and create some semi-conscious, emotionally intelligent child. And we were talking about Thanksgiving next week. And he asked me how I was doing in the morning. Like, we try and say good morning and, check in with each other. And I said, well, I'm too grateful to complain. And he said, what? And he said, yeah, I'm too grateful to complain. Too grateful to complain, Mama. And I said, yeah. And I had to explain to him what it meant. And now he thinks it's a joke. But now this little 4-year-old is just saying that when people say, hi, how are you? He's like, too grateful to complain. And he's, itty bitty. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen. I digress. We've got to get started. I'm not even caffeinated, my friends. I'm not even caffeinated. I'm just high on life right now. Good morning again. Thank you all so much for being here. We're going to have more guests trickle in as you can. We, of course, are recording. Definitely subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. And I will drop the password at the end of the class. But without further ado, friends, family, I have two wonderful souls here with us today who are going to have a wonderful conversation about crucial conversations, which are fun sometimes and incredibly challenging, and they can be taxing, and they challenge all of our best parts and all of our opportunity areas become highlighted. Just speaking for myself. So I'm really excited for this conversation to see how we can facilitate these conversations and leverage who we are and what we know as coaches. So first, I'm going to bring it over to my good friend, Ujjwal. Ujjwal, welcome. Good morning or good evening, sir. Thank you so much for being here. If you could just introduce yourself to our wonderful friends.
Sure. Thank you, Nessa. And hi, everyone. Hi, Vanessa. It is my absolute pleasure to be on this panel today along with my good friend, Vanessa. So just a little bit about myself. So I'm Ujjwal Butch. I'm associated with Kocharya since 2012 and currently on their trainers panel as well. And also a master certified coach and wonderful part of wonderful Kocharya community. So I welcome everyone and also happy to introduce Vanessa. So don't get confused between Vanessa and Nessa. Both are equally great souls. So So Vanessa has a very diverse background and very enriching experience in life. She has her hospitality industry experience, food and beverages experience, and on that note, so she's a food expert and beverage expert. So you might would like to grab maybe a virtual or a real beverage of your choice, depending on the time zone that you are in. Okay, any amount of alcohol content is your choice. Okay, or any caffeine content is your choice. But she has really moved from food and beverage industry to hospitality, from a restaurant to a front office, and also into strategic role, and also then gradually moving into coaching and leadership and strategy expert. She's a pass out from Cornell University, but whatever she has studied, she's doing something very different. I think that happens with most of us in life. And uh, the topic itself is so intriguing, and I would be her dialogue partner. She's going to lead this session. But right in the beginning, Vanessa, if I can check with you that this topic of crucial conversation, the book, and the other stuff, how did it made a difference to you, so that you came from a very different background into people development space? So would you like to start sharing about that?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us on the talk today. I'm very happy to be spending time with you today. My beverage of choice is water, but in a wonderful little tiki cup for this morning. And thank you also, Ujjwal, for the most warm introduction, and Nessa as well. Just absolutely wonderful. So as Ujjwal said, the bulk of my background is in the hospitality industry. And that's really where I dug my heels into leadership development and training. And what I found was that in hospitality, there are many, many young, youthful individuals that are thrown into leadership roles. And I know it doesn't just happen in hospitality, but I saw it quite a bit being so immersed in it. And I myself was a young leader, and I found that in order to be effective, I had to find my own way. And as we all know, if for those of you that have seen Gordon Ramsay on TV, the hospitality industry is very rife with unhealthy leadership styles. And what you see on TV is really just the half of it. When you are living in it, you're immersed in that culture. It can be quite challenging. And so, what I sought out to do was find a different way. And like many young leaders in hospitality, I read a lot of books. I did a lot of research on my own and became quite passionate with leadership development. And Crucial Conversations was really one of the anchors that I continued to use throughout not only my time in the hospitality industry, but now as a consultant and as a coach. I continue to use Crucial Conversations and the thoughts that the authors have put forth as a basis for a lot of how I conduct my work.
Thank you, Vanessa. And before we dive in, I would like to request all the participants here to express their thoughts on what crucial conversations would mean for you. If you could send your responses in the chat box, could be a good starter to begin with.
Absolutely. I feel like it can conjure all sorts of thoughts and visceral reactions
Yes.
to think
Right.
about having crucial conversations for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the meanwhile, Vanessa, would you like to share your screen?
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's about being constructive, saving relationship, having uncomfortable conversations that are necessary, conversation that matter, time sensitive. Crucial conversations would mean conversations around development, okay, which has consequences, high stakes conversations, great, sensitive matters, mhm. Potentially conflicting, Rajesh has mentioned, absolutely. Mhm. Difficult, those will make us grow. Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
Definitely.
Great. So as we move forward, Vanessa, would you like to introduce these two wonderful books, and then gradually we segue into how it relates to coaching?
Absolutely. So I have the privilege today to act as a bridge between the authors and our guests today on this colloquium, as I present the thoughts and ideas behind holding crucial conversations and holding others accountable. Hopefully this is the first of many discussions about conducting crucial conversations. It was, I was talking to Ujjwal earlier, it's very difficult to distill all of the information and all of the related information as we as coaches encounter. But what we decided upon was to really focus on the principles of crucial conversations and introducing them as they relate to the mindset of a coach today. So this is especially relevant to us and at Coacharia on the heels of ICF's new revisions to the coaching competencies and markers, which specifically reference embodying a coach's mindset. So I think that you'll find some of the information that we're talking about today very, very relevant. And what I wanted to make sure to emphasize is that having these crucial conversations and having this tool set goes beyond your work as a coach or your professional lives. This is really applicable to you as an individual and to your families, to your loved ones, and to your immediate ecosystem, in addition to your professional ecosystem. So one other thing that you'll notice throughout our conversation is that in addition to the competencies and the relation to the competencies, if you've taken any of the wonderful courses at Coacharia, you've no doubt been exposed to the writings and the teachings of some of the great minds and thought leaders out there, such as Otto Scharmer and his theory of you, Daniel Goleman and his ideas behind emotional and social intelligence, Barry Johnson and polarities, just to name a few. There's so many. We'll touch upon these today, some of them today and as they relate, but again, we really will strive to focus on crucial conversations as they relate to a coaching mindset.
Sure.
All right. So what the authors put forth is that at the heart of almost all chronic problems in our organizations, in our family lives, in our relationships, they lie in how people behave when others disagree with them. And when they disagree about these high stakes, emotionally charged, like very heated, emotionally heated issues. And as humans, we have this universal need to really nourish the relationships, our interactions with others. And what the authors have found through research, and these books were created doing a tremendous amount of research with companies, Fortune 500 companies, smaller companies as well. They found not only greater interpersonal relationships, but they found some real ROI bottom line results, like greater customer service, greater customer loyalty, safer work environments, such as in power plants, or greater safety in airline practices. And relevant today to COVID, more lives saved in the healthcare industry. And that's, again, just to name a few. So what they sought to do was to create a set of tools, practical set of tools that can be used to enhance people's capacity to find better solutions to shared group problems. So one of the bases and one of the tenets of what they put forth is that crucial conversation solutions must be synergistic. And their definition of synergistic in this case is that your whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And this is something that we've heard when we talk about Fritz Perls and Gestalt psychology. We might have had these discussions earlier in some earlier webinars. And immediately to me, what that brought to mind was the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So for those of you here in the United States and abroad, peanut butter is as American as apple pie here. And you take this wonderful peanut butter, you take the wonderful jelly, and you take beautifully baked bread. But when you put them all together, you get something more elevated, absolutely magical. You get this peanut butter and jelly sandwich that is venerated for generations, again, here in the United States.
Yeah.
So
Vanessa, can I say something? What comes up for
sure,
me?
sure, absolutely.
So yeah, when it is CC solutions for a coach, CC is core competencies, and here we understand as crucial conversations. So CC for this hour is crucial conversations, not core competencies, and there is no EU along with it. So you will get CC EUs, but little later. Yeah.
Thank you. That's absolutely super important to understand. CC,
Yes.
so I don't keep typing out crucial conversations. Um,
Yes.
so you may be wondering, how do these synergistic solutions manifest themselves? Like what are the results? And we see better relationships, we see better interactions, we see a better decision-making processes develop, and increased commitment. You see increased empowerment, feelings of empowerment, and it's a wonderful thing to see this evolve.
Hmm.
It's also very important to understand and realize that synergistic solutions in themselves are not a compromise. So compromise is really the midway between two extremes. So it's my view and it's your view. Compromise is somewhere in between. Now, what compromise implies is that each party is also giving something up to meet that midway. But what synergistic solutions strives for is this middle way. Buddhists call this the middle way. Um, can also call it a third higher way, kind of like the apex of a triangle. So for I'm here and you're here, we're meeting somewhere else, the third way. And this mutual creation of a third way is stated here, again, creates ownership, creates empowerment, and further bonds the relationship and further strengthens the relationship as well.
Yeah. And Vanessa, as we are at it, that reminds me of polarity thinking by Barry Johnson, how to coach around polarities. So he used to beautifully mention that we usually think in terms of extremities or polarities. So we usually have to make a choice or make a trade-off between the two, which is known as or thinking, or based thinking. But here I think I find that synergy in terms of what Barry Johnson mentions is about just replace or with and thinking, and suddenly the third truth or third alternative would emerge. Is that something getting converged here as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll see further down in our conversation
Mm-hmm.
that in the design, in the discussion principles,
Hmm.
that that is absolutely the train of thought and the mode of thinking, is that you are not forced between two solutions. You actually have a full array of solutions that you just might not be accessing in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that case, Vanessa, would you like to define that as per that book, as per the authors, what exactly, what is a crucial conversation from their lens?
All right. Let me show you.
Okay.
So what is a crucial conversation? So we see here that you can envision it as the sides of a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Your crucial conversation involves strong emotions. It involves opinions that vary and differ.
Mm.
And it also involves stakes that are high.
Yeah.
So when you have the three together, and if you can look out for these points, when you've hit these points, you have entered a crucial conversation.
Okay. It reminds me of the conversations I have with my wife, or many times my wife have with me.
Absolutely. Again, this goes beyond professional. It's familial. It's really conversations that are meaningful to you. So absolutely, I feel like we are having crucial conversations probably for the most part at home and within our close circles.
Yeah, correct. So, what could be the impact of crucial conversations, or as we are preparing for crucial conversations? Is there an impact on the brain chemistry, or what happens inside?
So what happens to us is actually a number of subconscious reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about in the past in discussions with about neuroscience about the hijacking of the amygdala. So
Mm-hmm.
science today, we've proven that when something happens, when we see or observe something, we have an emotional reaction to that first. And if it happens to be something very powerful, we talk about the hijacking of the amygdala. Some people describe it as seeing red. So you don't have sort of access to those frontal cortex thinking,
Mm.
reasoning sections of the brain.
Yeah.
Maybe your fight or flight reactions are accessed. Your cortisol and adrenaline are produced. Blood diverts from I put in quotes non-essential to high priority because we're talking about instinctual now. High priority according to what Mother Nature has ingrained in us.
Mm.
And again, your brain is getting less of this blood flow to the frontal cortex reasoning areas. So for those of you who, like me, were born in the 70s and have watched The Incredible Hulk on TV, your body is essentially preparing you to fight a bear.
Mm. Yeah, correct. Yeah. But then how do we end up behaving when we are under pressure?
Well, when we're under pressure, these crucial conversations are they often come out of nowhere. Also put in quotes, right? There are signals, but we often don't expect when they're coming up. It's not like you can plan for a crucial conversation. So you're forced to conduct them in real time. And these are very complex reactions. And
Mm.
so often if you don't put that pause, that time in to understand where you are, we often act in self-defeating ways. And it's just not ourselves, it's the people that we are interacting with. So we have
Mm.
groups of people acting in self-defeating ways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Vanessa, just wanted to bring one perspective as some of the conversation, the chat box also indicate that as far as coaching is concerned, okay, how as coaches, so first in your view, how do you term coaching as a crucial conversation? And how as coaches we can help client having a crucial conversation with themselves?
Mm, that's absolutely excellent questions. So coaching itself and conducting a coaching session, um,
Mm-hmm.
and this will be a little bit clearer as we go further down the line,
Mm.
but there are many different aspects of conducting a conversation, a crucial conversation, that mirror the coaching session. And, just to name a few,
Mm-hmm.
we are, and sort of to answer that second part of the question, is we start with ourselves. It's really about getting in touch with ourselves and what it is that our motives are, and what are we trying to get out of not only the situation,
Mm-hmm.
but the relationships with the people that we are having these conversations with.
Mm-hmm.
So in a coaching session, again, it is, you can think about it in terms of it being about your client, right? And so your motives as a coach are to really hold the space for the client to be able to share and to be in touch um, with their own feelings and with their own motives. And so you as a coach are helping to guide them through and kind of understanding these principles of conducting these conversations very much so mirrors the process of leading clients through that process.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Vanessa, there is a request to show the previous slide for a moment, and then we can come back on this slide.
It's the Incredible Hulk. Everyone loves him.
Yeah. And so there is a question around vulnerability. So what is the space for vulnerability in holding a crucial conversation?
As facilitators,
Mm-hmm.
we need to acknowledge that vulnerability is a very real, very difficult topic and very difficult feeling to kind of settle in with.
Mm,
So what we endeavor to do both as coaches and as someone as a facilitator of a crucial conversation is to hold space for that
mm,
vulnerability, to
mm.
the authors call it make it safe,
Okay.
to
Are we going to touch upon that as we
we
move
will touch
forward?
upon that
Oh,
for
great.
sure.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Great.
So stay tuned.
Sure. Okay. Sure. So I believe there is another book. Yes, Crucial Accountability. So,
So accountability, and crucial accountability, the second book I'm just touching upon in this discussion because they see holding others accountable as a type of a crucial conversation. So it's really like a subset.
mm,
Um, and just to introduce the topic of that book, the authors pause to ask us, why is it that we don't say anything?
mm,
And it turns out that in our heads, not only do we decide or think about or come up with how we're going to act, but our brains do these quick calculations of whether or not we act. So we do this mental math in our head, whether it's worth it to do something or to say something. And so what crucial accountability puts forth is that the stakes may be low in the case of somebody cutting ahead of us in the line or the queue.
mm,
And maybe, we're not quite so in a hurry, so the consequences aren't high. But what happens if it's in, let's say, a healthcare setting? And again, in this time of COVID, here
mm,
in the United States, there's a procedure where in hospitals, doctors, nurses, anyone that works in in a
mm,
hospital must sanitize their hands as they enter a room and as they leave a room.
mm,
So what if a doctor or a nurse is observed not doing that?
mm,
The stakes are a little bit higher.
mm,
So what does that math look like in our head? The space shuttle disaster of 1986, there was a problem with a component, an O-ring component that some engineers actually had some insight into prior to the launch. They did not speak up because of fear of backlash. And what resulted was a space shuttle explosion, and all of the astronauts unfortunately did not make it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, and this decision-making process often happens in seconds. And it as far as its relation to coaching, you know, it may surprise you as well that the math that happens in our head takes into account cultural beliefs and our values as well.
Mm. Yeah, correct. Vanessa, are there some principles? See, for coaches, we know that the whole coach training is there, then there is credentialing process, competency framework, okay, PCC markers, everything is available. But what I believe that these books are written for, everyday people who are not coaches, but anybody who is interested in this field of conversations, that to crucial conversations, this could be immensely useful. Am I right?
Absolutely, yes. So
Okay,
let's get
so
into, sorry.
yeah, no, that's fine. So are there any principles you wanted to talk about which
Yeah.
might have a parallel of coaching, but as well as everyday situations as well?
Yes, let's get into the meat of this conversation. So the authors have created 7 dialogue principles for crucial conversations, and they're stated here.
Mhm.
Let's start with the first one, which is start with the heart. So
Hmm.
again, you know, for coaching, um, we see the same thoughts and ideas, right? As a coach, we want to work on me first and us second. And the same thing when we're talking with our clients, we want to talk to them about working on them first and the group or the collective second, because ultimately the only person that you can directly control is yourself.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we're really taking a dive into, you know, what is it that we really want? What is our behavior saying about what we want in the moment? Are we wanting peace and then moving towards silence? Are we withdrawing? Or are we moving towards violence? Are we wanting to win? Are we attacking others? Are we trying to label others or control them? So it becomes really important to ask ourselves, take a moment, take a step back and say, well, what is it that I want for myself, for others, for the other person, and for our relationship? And ultimately, how should I be behaving if what I say I want is what I really want?
Hmm.
And Ujjwal, you know, to your earlier point about and thinking,
Hmm.
A and B,
Yeah.
you know, often the authors call it the fool's choice. You know, people get sucked into thinking that you have to either choose between getting results or maintaining the relationship. But again, there is a full array of options, and what you have to train yourself is to think, be in that end mode of thinking.
Right. Okay, so which means that you don't have to make a fool's choice, but you have a full choice.
You have a full choice, absolutely. A full choice.
Okay, great.
So, how many of you out there have walked away from an absolutely failed conversation and you know you're just flabbergasted, you're maybe your head is in your hands and you're asking yourself, what just happened? Like, I have no idea how the conversation degraded that fast. How did it turn from a simple question into name calling and finger pointing? And that's what the second design principle is about, or discussion principle is about. And this to me very much reflects the notion of, we talk about SET or SET. As a coach, we learn to look for the sensations, the emotions, and the thoughts that our clients are displaying. And this is really how we are able to identify when we've entered a crucial conversation, right? Again, when it's devolved from a simple discussion into something that's become truly a conflict.
Mhm. Okay.
So again, we're watching for safety problems. We're looking for signals that the environment has not become safe for either person to share. And we're
Mhm.
looking for others moving towards silence or violence themselves. Because ultimately, when it's safe, people feel like they can talk about almost anything. And if you don't fear being attacked or being humiliated yourself, you as a person are able to receive almost anything. So I think that's super important to understand.
So I think that's the next slide, which is making it safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as coaches, it falls upon us to hold the space for our clients, to help create this environment that they feel safe in not only sharing their experiences or sharing their thoughts, but also doing the hard work of taking an inward look and discovering and exploring what might not be so apparent to them. And this principle holds true for conducting crucial conversations with others.
Mm.
And the authors here have provided two what they call tools for making it safe. The first is called contrasting, and this is stating what they call do and don't statements. So you're addressing concerns that you maybe don't respect someone, or that you don't have a malicious purpose. You're reinforcing that you are coming into it with true intentions, open intentions. And then you are also confirming that you do have respect, or you want to clarify your purpose. So an example of this is, the last thing I want to do is communicate that I don't value the work that you do. I do think that the work that you've all done is absolutely spectacular. And another tool is what the authors call CRIB, which is an acronym. And this is again making reference to that middle way, that apex way. And it's a commitment to creating mutual purpose, collectively recognizing the purpose, and inventing mutual purpose together. So again, you are creating that third way together and brainstorming new strategies together. And this is really where the ownership and the empowerment comes from, the owning this new path that you and your colleagues, or you and your partner, you and your child even, have forged together.
Mm. So which means that if you create a crib in the conversation, you don't have to crib later.
That's a very, very important point. It's a great point. The earlier that you can use that tool or do it in the conversation, the less difficult it will be down the road. Absolutely. Crib now so you don't have to crib later. The fourth is master my stories. So I'd like to ask the group today, think about who it is that makes you mad, that makes you most mad, or makes you most annoyed, or consistently makes you feel insulted. I'm sure I know for me that um, a select few come to mind. But I would like to put forth that ultimately it's really you, it's really ourselves that are making us feel mad, making us feel annoyed, and making us feel insulted. It's our reactions. So the real question is that we should be asking ourselves is, are we going to act as masters, or are we going to act as slaves to our stories? So what actually happens is, we see something, we observe something, or we hear something that's being said or that's said directly to us. And what actually happens is we then tell ourselves a story about what we've seen or heard. And as we've talked about in earlier slides about that, about the amygdala and about feeling it emotionally first, we feel an emotion based on the story that we've told ourselves. And from that feeling, we then decide how we're going to act. So it really hinges, as we can see, on the story that we are telling ourselves, because that then dictates how we're going to feel and ultimately how we're going to act. So just a quick example here is, we may see or hear a fellow manager meeting privately with our boss. And maybe we tell ourselves a story, is that person going over my head to complain about me? And then we might feel threatened, we might feel angry, we might feel worried about our jobs, and ultimately might feel resentful about what we think is happening. And how might we act? Well, we might start talking sarcastically, speaking sarcastically to this fellow manager, and they might have no idea what's going on. Or even worse, we might go to that boss to make sure that that boss sees our colleagues' shortcomings. So we're kind of, um, bolstering our place in the eyes of our boss, which again is even worse.
Yeah. And Vanessa, at this juncture, just I got reminded of a discussion that we had with Betty Sue Flowers in AAA conference. She's a
Mhm.
global expert on stories related to future, and she beautifully mentioned that our past is a story that we tell to ourselves, and our future is also a story that we tell to ourselves, and accordingly we act today. So depending on what my character that I tell to myself, am I a hero or am I a victim in my story of the future, that will make me act, or that will make me stuck in the present moment. And one of the beautiful insights that she shared was that as coaches, basically you are doing a job of reframing the client's stories that they tell themselves, nothing more, nothing less. So maybe they start the conversation with their own character in their mind as victim, and maybe at the end of it, or in the coaching journey in multiple sessions, they end up reframing their role in their own story from a victim to a hero, and that's where they come out with flying colors. So just thought to bring it up.
That's a great point, and that was a very wonderful discussion in the AAA series. I again, absolutely perfect for this point. So, we ask ourselves as coaches or as individuals conducting a crucial conversation, what can we do? And it's exactly what you said, Ujjwal, is we take a step back, we analyze the stories. What
Yeah,
are we telling ourselves? We get back to the facts.
yeah,
What was actually said, what was actually observed. We think about what are we telling ourselves? Are we portraying ourselves as victims? Are we saying the other person is a villain? Are we, thinking that this is a helpless situation. We can also tell the rest of the story, you know, and I think this is important too. You know, what is my role in what is going on?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the fifth principle is again an acronym. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Like, you've done the work of exploring your heart, starting with your heart. You've made the safe space. Now you're ready to share your facts. You're ready to share your position. So this acronym is again a tool to guide you through that. So you're sharing your facts. You're telling your story that you've analyzed for the truth. You are asking others, the other person, for their path. You're then talking tentatively around your paths and encouraging testing. So encouraging testing is you know, putting out there potential middle ways or third ways and seeing if that sticks. You know, maybe there needs to be further discussion around that. And again, these principles are not linear. They're not mutually exclusive of one another. You might have to go back and you know, continue to make the space safe, or you might continue to go back and do some more exploration in the heart, but they all kind of work together.
Yeah.
So the sixth is that you continue to explore others' paths, and this to me is the pinnacle of the coach's mindset. You are again holding safe space for others to share and feel safe, but what you're starting with, and I love that the authors mirror this sentiment to us as coaches, is you're starting with an attitude of curiosity and patience. You're asking, you're expressing interest in others' views. You're mirroring by acknowledging the emotions that they are either expressing or that you're sensing and feeling. You're paraphrasing or you're restating what in their words what you've heard. And if you feel comfortable, and if the client feels comfortable, if you sense that they're holding back, you could offer to share an intuition. I think this particular principle beautifully mirrors the coaching mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think of LASI.
Yes, absolutely. ALSI, which is again one of the core tenets of coaching.
Sure.
And the seventh and final principle is the move to action. And this is really where, you know, you've come up with this this third way together, you know, and you've created mutual agreement. And now this is really how you're going to move forward from there. So how do you decide to decide? How do you decide what the actions are to move forward with? You know, will you vote on directions? Will you create consensus? You know, who of the group needs or wants to be involved? And then ultimately, how will you put your decisions into action? And this is that subset again that we spoke about in holding others accountable and holding ourselves accountable. This is really where that comes into play.
Yeah. So I feel we are in, you know, CC 9, 10, 11 that talks about moving into action zone and talking about crucial accountability also here. So I see a parallel with the coaching competencies framework.
Absolutely. This kind of brings all of the good work that you've done. It's a summary, and this is the focus, right? In coaching, we focus on moving forward in the future. And this is really what this is about, is now you've created that mutual purpose. How do we move forward into the future?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So again, we've gone through the 7 dialogue principles. We started with the heart. We've learned to look. We've accessed the sensations, emotions, and thoughts that not only ourselves, but our colleagues or our families are expressing. We've made it safe for others to also share, and made a safe environment for us to continue to have a dialogue. We've mastered our stories. We've questioned ourselves. Are the stories that we are telling ourselves true? Are they in fact true? We have stated our path, stated our position, and invited others to state their position. We've explored the various paths mutually and then come up with that third way of moving forward. And then we design actions for ourselves to move forward and to hold ourselves accountable. And these are really the 7 dialogue principles of conducting a crucial conversation.
Yeah.
So again, I think that we've spoken to a lot of, made a lot of connections to things that are related to our practice and what we do, and how we conduct ourselves as coaches. But again, ultimately, why? Why is this important to coaching, and especially coaching in a group setting or systemic leadership coaching, right? So often, teamwork, productivity, performance issues, even, even family issues are often more complex than than simply like structure, process issues that we normally attribute them to. Like for instance, if software doesn't ship on time, some leaders might create benchmark development processes, or they might change them. Let's say your productivity in your company is lagging. What might a leader do? They might tweak performance management systems. If your teams aren't cooperating, I find this to be pretty extreme, but some leaders their go-to might be to restructuring. But often the real problem is not in the process, the system, or the structure in itself, but it's in the employee behavior. It's in the interactions and in the communications, and that the teams themselves lack the skill to have these fruitful conversations.
Yeah. And Vanessa, that reminds me of Thomas Leonard, who was the founder of ICF. He had a beautiful quote to share that all problems exist in absence of a good conversation.
That
So,
sums it up perfectly.
yeah. And if I can add that all problems exist in the absence of a crucial conversation. Okay.
Yes.
And maybe for coaches, all problems exist in absence of a good coaching conversation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I would love to invite the guests on today's discussion to share with us, what's come up for you. Is it different after having heard these authors' thoughts? Is anything different coming up for you in regards to conducting, holding, or being a part of crucial conversations?
Would you like to stop the screen share by any chance?
I will. While people are sharing their thoughts, I
Yes.
did want to share that the authors have an online site that I think is beautiful. They have learning modules. They've shared a resource library. There are videos and audio lessons and countless examples. You can also sign up for a newsletter. And for those of you that either have the books or are thinking of picking them up, there's a wonderful self-assessment in Crucial Conversations. It's called Your Style Under Stress. It's short. There's it's a couple of pages, but it really is pretty telling, and something that you can use for yourself and with your teams as well to gauge what your reactions are. How is it that you react under stress and in conversations or in a conversational setting?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I thank you very much for spending time with us today. I really, again, this Crucial Conversations books and these authors have really been one of the anchors that I've used in my leadership and development training, especially in the hospitality industry with youth leaders. And I've found it to be a very easy and approachable way for leaders of all ages, but especially young leaders to approach leading others and conducting conversations with others. So I hope that you also found some valuable nuggets in there as well today. And thank you, Ujjwal.
Thank you.
We've got some, oh, I realized my video popped up. We've got some really good little snippets here. I know we only have a couple minutes left, but there's some good little pieces that I thought maybe you guys could take a look at. Where did it go? So is that a factor in assumption is an important question to ask. Okay, no, I hear what you're saying there. There was one. There we go, beneath that. So conducting a crucial conversation is an opportunity to explore an everyday, every part of life. I'm only confused with two things. How do I recognize high stakes under stress? And how do I know it is important? It is not a compromise during actioning. Interesting. How much would accountability shift during a crucial conversation, or does it shift at all? Great questions.
I am, well, we can tackle some of those today if we have time, Nessa.
We've got 5 minutes. Let's see where it takes us. Let's have fun.
Okay. Let's start from the top. The first one that you said, I believe it was, would you mind repeating that first question?
Yes, where are we? How do I recognize high stakes under stress?
How do I recognize high stakes under stress? So yes, ultimately, we spoke about that before, right? The amygdala hijacking, that you're feeling that rush of emotion and maybe not so much else. So this is, like everything else, this is a practice, right? This is not something that you are immediately going to read and you're going to be perfect at it every time. This is something that in part of the starting with the heart, it's getting to understand yourself. So you're doing this deep dive into, okay, how do I react when I'm faced with a stressful situation? You can just start there. And it may be, what is my go-to reaction? Is it anger? Do I strive to keep the peace and I don't say anything? Do I divert the conversation elsewhere? That your reactions could be a myriad of different ones. But it really is that number one, starting with the heart and taking a deep dive into understanding yourself. Like, then this is why I think it so beautifully equates to coaching, is because we as coaches need to understand ourselves better and better, and that what we strive to understand ourselves better and better so that we become better, more effective coaches for our clients. Ujjwal, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think we are good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Let's see here. Just quick checking, just a few more minutes if we can sneak anything in. This was such a great conversation, you guys. This was really helpful. And it was just, for me, who am I kidding? We only have 2 minutes and I'm a talker. I'm going to eat these 2 minutes up. But for me, the reflecting through all of this conversation, I mean, I guess that's probably the value of all of these things, right? Is just what's coming up for us as we digest all of these thoughts. But that was it was hugely valuable, just thinking about recent conversations that I've had and upcoming conversations, and how my subconscious even was already prepping for it with some old patterns in mind. And so this was a really great, little awakening for me at, roughly 10:30 in the morning now. But this was a great way to start the day. This was definitely a great way to start the day. I know that, between the pandemic experience we're still happening, between the political conversations we're still having, between your significant others still not knowing what they want for dinner, we are having crucial conversations all the time. And being able to really keep ourselves together and being able to tap into these skills that are deep within us, coming from our own source, available to us at any moment. It's hugely valuable. It's absolutely hugely valuable. I think it helps us all continue to master that coach place within us. And it creates more positive ripples, I think, right? We're going to have conversations and people having experiences with us. And if we can be masterful at having these conversations, at facilitating these conversations, there's more good vibrating out than the reverse, than the opposite. So I think this is hugely valuable, and I'm very grateful to you guys for the conversation and all of the resources that you offered. So just thank you very much. I am so happy I was able to be here and facilitate. And thank you so much, everybody who came and hung out with us for an hour of your time. It is the most precious currency we have, and thank you for offering it to us. Again, Kocharia community, I wish you a phenomenal rest of your day or your evening. And to our panelists, Vanessa and Ujjwal, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Nessa, for everything.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I've also put my email in the chat box if anyone wants to continue the conversation. I'm sorry we didn't have time for more Q&A.
Oh gosh, no problem at all. That was amazing, amazing. And again, take a peek, rewatch this on YouTube. Get those reflections in, get those journals out. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Be well. See you guys.
Thank you.
See you. Thank you.